for us our second video today on political reaction. Of course, guys, we've heard a lot about ODM since the fall of Raila, and many people felt like orphaned, and they were for the quickest option possible. Of course, out of the many, some have related to dreams which we can't fathom, and most of that are not coming from family. And of course, ODM has finally said the agreement between them and UDA to form the next government. Yesterday in Kakamega and previously on Saturday, Busia, it was clear that Junet, Gladys Worth, Simba Rat, among other leaders, stood strongly to say that no one will talk to them about the OMAU and the NCDC. All they have to do is to use their brains and stop hanging outside the government for the longest time possible. So if you are a critical analyst, this comes out to indicate politicians as people who are opportunists. What matters for them is selfish gain. So does it now tell us that for the longest time possible, ODM was not fighting for our rights or our justice or our demands, but it was fighting for the space in government? What exactly does this signify to the citizens who were being called yesterday ground, and of course being promised the delegate positions and opportunities and all that? So having listened to the divergent speeches from the different people, it was very clear that majority of them feel like they have to grab an opportunity and not fight for an opportunity. Now, of course, we have divergent views with those who are arguing that ODM party should, redefine itself and come up as a strong party that will actually be trusted by people. But there are those who feel like it's long overdue, that they have been waiting for the cannon that has not come yet for the next time possible, and they are ready to jump into Singapore. And so some feel like ODM has lost its labels, it has lost its slogans, it has lost its ideology. What is your thought? I would actually wish to have divergent thoughts or comments coming up, streaming on edutainment for us. Keep commenting, dropping your likes, and sharing the video that we are currently showing up. So of course, just as ODM was holding their Linda ground, moments in Busia and Kakamega, there was a clear divergent kind of silent rebellion from Winnie Odinga and because they held a meeting at Kamkunji, and of course they were meeting young people and people from the lowest of the lowest. And at the same time, we saw the other young Babu trying to confront the president, telling him that he will be a one-term and all that. So we've had that for the longest time possible, and we would wish to go into action and to this. So let's start with the Kakamega meeting, and away from then we'll come to Winnie, or maybe we'll start with Winnie Odinga and what she explored here.
Asanteni sana. Long live Baba, long live! Long live Baba, long live! Asanteni sana.
I think they are. Nitaangalia, nilipata vitabu fulani vilikuwa mahali for the longest time possible juzi. Nitaenda ni sawa, nitaconfirm kwa nyumba alafu nikujibu kesho.
Joey! Hamjambo nyote. Leo tumerudi nyumbani. Nasikia kuna watu wengine walisema hatuwezi kuja hapa. Hao ni akina nani? Maeleze, nimerudi nyumbani, nimepika bedroom na hata saizi natoa viatu. Ya kwanza ningependa kusema pole. Halo, unanisikia? Poleni sana. Mulimpoteza baba. Na najua ya uchungu. Mulimpoteza baba yenu. So poleni sana. Leo nilisema sitaongea sana juu ya siasa. Lakini Unajua ni chogo. And it's our nature kama kitinda mimba. Ukiona makosa lazima uchome. So leo nimekuja kuchoma. Unakumbuka vile baba alikuwa anaimba mbele yetu? Sana sana wakati mambo ilikuwa tight sana. Tulimwona akija mbele yetu na alikuwa anaimba nyimbo zake zilizopendwa. Nilikuwa nafikiria hiyo siku ikifika mtaimba nyimbo gani? Lakini unajua sisi kama vijana wimbo zetu hazifai kila wakati. Sana sana kuna nyimbo ya Tupac ningependa kuimba hapa leo. Hiyo utatafuta, it's called Hit 'em Up, enda utafute. Lakini wakati nimeketi hapa, kuna nyimbo moja imekuwa ikichezwa kichwani. Hii nyimbo iliandikwa na msanii mwingine anaitwa Isa, marehemu. Unamjua Isa? Kijana wetu wa South Sea hapa. Na hiyo nyimbo ilikuwa inaitwa Hamnitishi. Na alianza hiyo nyimbo na methali. Akasema hivi: vitisho vya peni mbili vikifanya mimi nini? Hamnitishi, hamnibadaishi. Vile nimesikia hapa leo, hii chama iko na maneno mengi. Kwenye hii safari sisi tulikuwa abiria na baba alikuwa dereva ya basi hili. Na kuna siku moja tuliamka na tukashtuka, dereva amekufa, aliaga dunia. Kidogo kidogo wale walikuwa na keti mbele wamekimbia kwenye steering wheel, kila mtu anavuruta pande hii, mtu mwingine pande hii, pande hii.
So guys, you heard about what Winnie said. Winnie said that the driver died and those who are sitting in front of the vehicle actually began to pull themselves. So clearly showing that the rifts are there. So regardless of ODM members arguing that there are no rifts in the party, it's clear that there are rifts, right? And we can see them quite clearly in the previous meetings that we saw at Busia, saw at Kakamega. And of course, there were figures who are missing, and people kept asking on the sites why they were not there. And of course, these people will not tell us the correct reason as to why they were not there. They'll keep hiding, saying they asked for permission, they were in other political missions. But it's clear their absence is because they don't want to see that humiliation or the agreements, so that when they come in another meeting, they'll say they were not there, right? Yeah. So let's now check on Winnie Odinga is saying Hamnitishi. So who is she telling Hamnitishi? Is she telling the citizens? I doubt. But maybe she's talking about these other leaders in the party who actually feel they are threatening some of the leaders. And she's just coming in between the rift for those who feel divergent and for those who are supportive to the ideologies of ODM to stand out and argue out her way. Okay? Now she's a neutralizer, but I feel like she's rebelling quietly. Now let's again listen to this, because she says those who are sitting close to the driver began to jump. Is it Junet? Is it Gladys Wanga? Is it Orengo? Is it Oburu? Or who is it? So there seems to be a war between a niece and an uncle. Let's check into more details.
Wametusukuma sisi kama abiria, wametusukuma kama magnia. Tuko nyuma. Wamesahau. Na vile tunasema hapa leo, ngojeni. Baba alikufa juzi tu. Tulieni. Haraka ya nini bwana? Wacha tuongee kwanza. Simamisha hii basi kwanza. Wacha tuongee. Tuamue. Tusonge mbele pamoja. Yeah. Umenipata? Watu wangu, nataka mkue gangari. Sisi kama familia tuko kwenye faction hili ama kundi ile ama nini. Sisi ni team baba.
So you realize that Winnie is insisting that she is team baba. So who are the rest? Because when we go to any meeting, these people are holding to the ghost of Baba. There's no meeting that goes without mentioning Baba. It's like he's a ghost that will be hovering around ODM forever unless ODM is changed into another party. We keep referring to him. Even UDM members are now coming back to say it was because of Baba that we are who we are. So what is happening? Now, why is Winnie Odinga holding a parallel meeting in Kamkunji, and whatever she's saying is actually accusing some of the leaders in ODM? She said they were in a vehicle, the driver died, and those who were at the front pushed others to the back. Is she referring to her family as having been pushed back in ODM? But then we have Oburu Odinga, the uncle, who is now taking the mantle. Why should she refer to that when her own family is actually taking leadership? Her own aunt, we can see that she is actually very fundamental in the discussions of ODM. Is she referring to Gladys Wanga because she was given leadership recently? Is she referring to Fernandez Baraza because he was given the chairmanship of Kakamega in ODM? Or what exactly is happening? Is she trying to refer to the young people because, of course, we've seen her supporting Babu? Let's continue listening. Maybe we may just get a hint.
We believed in what Baba was teaching us. Na sasa tunaona kila mtu miongoni mwetu who believed in Baba. Wengine walikuwa wakimtumia tu. Wamesahau kazi ya uongozi. Ama wamesahau vile hii chama ilianza. Wacha niwakumbushe. 2007 nchi iliwaka. Ni ODM ndio ilisimama na watu. 2013 kura iliibwa. ODM ni sisi tulitoka hapa maandamano. Ni akina nani? 2017 ndio ilikuwa mbaya. Ni sisi tulitoka maandamano. Tulienda hapa town. Tulilamba lami. Ni sisi. Wakati wa swearing in, mlikuwa hamko? Kuna wale wengine wanaongea sasa, sikuwaona SPO. 2022 pia tena tulitoka maandamano. Ni sisi ama sisi? Sasa after that tulikuwa na hii protest ya Gen Z. Baba alitoka, nchi ilikuwa naenda vibaya. Vijana wetu walikuwa wamepigwa risasi, watu walikufa, biashara zimefungwa. So Baba akatoka.
Now, of course, when you listen to that part of discussion, do you think the youth actually relate with Baba? Last point when most people actually shot, that is 2024? I really doubt, because that is the time actually many people felt like they had been betrayed by Baba, and they began to actually have dissenting moves against him. No wonder when he joined the broad-based government and finally, his end came, they did not react as much, if I may say so. But Winnie now is actually trying to wave a narrative here, and possibly, I don't know whether that will welcome something to do with an expulsion, because of course ODM currently, they are not allowing negotiations. Yesterday it was blatant at Kakamega, and the other day in Busia. People like Net, and we saw Simba Arat, we saw how this other guy Fernandez, we saw even the governor of Busia, we saw Gladys Wanga, and exactly what they were saying. So they were trying to indicate they have been outside in the cold for the longest time possible, and now they have some brain that they're not going to allow themselves to be on the opposition anymore. So clearly what they are saying, even as they try to cheat, that they are going to have a discussion to decide whether they will be collaborating with UDA or not. I think the decision is made, and anybody can see it with naked eyes. You don't have to acquire eyeglasses or anything else to see this. That is very clear. So into political matters, of course, this is the message that we get from politicians. It means they're self-seeking individuals, and this now takes us back to understanding politicians as in individuals. Because you look around, you may find good leaders in ODM, you may find good leaders in UDA, in United Opposition. It's high time actually Kenyans start having an eye view that gives them individuals and not a blanket party. The matters of selecting blanket parties bring us, mediocre leaders, some of them that are just going to grab wealth and create for themselves. And at the end of the day, they have excuses. Or like the Nakuru MP, you heard what he said. He was arguing that if Babu is actually not Babu, but Ndindi Nyoro, if Ndindi Nyoro is doing what he's doing for Kihara, he said it's because he has a sponsor. So what? Would you go and say that your neighbor is living good because they have a sponsor? If you know that is the way, then you grab it if it's your way. You don't have to keep referring or complaining. If that is what you want, go for it. If you have an opportunity to get it, then get it. But if they keep now complaining to the citizens, what exactly do they want? Then there was somebody else who said that the reality is that he was in budgeting, so he knows loopholes, he might have acquired wealth, but we see these people, all of them have kitties they steal from. When you look at the construction, some of them were indicating that Kiharu was actually developed the colonial time by the colonial masters, and so he has had an time just to do cobros and lunch, and that is why it is possible. But then, can't you do something different? At least do some improvement. Of course, that was Mavoko MP. Yeah, that was Mavoko MP that argued like that. But then, you don't justify your failure by saying that the other person got a chance through some other avenue. You better just do something that will make your people appreciate, even if it's not a replication of what another person is doing. So when we look at Winnie Odinga's moves and seeing that Junior was there, then it means that these people actually, somebody asked recently whether the dreams Raila has been sending to other politicians who have been saying, the last time I was with him, the message I got from him, maybe is there a different message they have got? Do we have dreams in this family that have manifested and not through Oburu Odinga? Because Oburu Odinga has been referred as that last old man that had to be helped to hold on stones so that the war does not continue. So these narratives are actually very confusing, and it needs individuals now to make decisions based on themselves. Now, is Winnie Odinga coming up as a self-made politician? Why is she so keen in making sure that she aligns with ideologies such as what Sifuna and Babu Odinga has? But then she's not coming out clearly to spill the narrative as the two. What she's doing, she's sending a message, because in her choice of words, when she talks about the Issa's song, Hamunitishi, Shtu and all that, whom is she communicating to when she tries to say that during all the demonstrations some people are not there and now they are coming out to stand out, and using analogies such as the bus and the driver dying, then the front seats are pushing back those who are at the front. So this is a very complex narrative that needs a lot of discerning. So somebody asks here, do you know Uganda? Talk about Uganda. Of course, I do know Uganda. It's a land that is just neighboring. We've also visited. And of course, with the political narrative going on, we are going to talk about it. So I was beginning with the ODM bombshell before coming to Uganda. So let's turn to the last meeting at Kakamega, of course, just to show a few. And the message that most of the politicians implored at Kakamega with Linda Graham. Let's begin with Junet.
Wanataka tukae kwa barabara, wanataka tukae kwa street, wanataka tupigane. Wakisikia ODM karibia serikali, wanaanza kupata tumbo joto, wanaanza kuharisha. Si mnawajua hawa? Si unajua hawa? Mimi nataka kusema hivi. Chama ya ODM ni chama ya nidhamu. It's a party of law and order. Na kamati kuu ya chama imesema wanataka kufanya mazungumzo na vyama vingine, wakianza na chama ya UDA. Sasa wewe ni nani kupinga kamati kuu ya chama?
Post ODM, it exposed Honorable Oburu Odinga land are freed and sleep.
Tunazungumzia viongozi wa chama kutoka Sekou hata redio yetu.
Simba Arati showed up here, exploded. In Nairobi, raised eyebrows across all. This mess isn't mysterious.
All right. So that is just one of the people that spoke during the rally. And we have so many other leaders who spoke. Maybe if you would watch the entire video of leaders speaking in Busia and Kakamega, you would understand that we have a very big crevice forming in ODM. And maybe let me see whether I can acquire some other videos before I move to Uganda.
Orange Democratic Movement Party.
All right.
Attempts by ODM party leader to broker truth. ODM delegate huko Butere, na nilipoitwa huko mimi nienda huko kukula kidogo lunch, breakfast. Attempts by the delegates. Huyu ndio gavana, ndio mwenyekiti wa chama hapa. So we are here to make sure you people understand where the party is coming from and where we are going. ODM deputy party leaders.
All right. So, of course, if you keep listening to many of the people who spoke during the rally, of course, I did some other reaction yesterday on the same, and it's clear that there is that aspect of selfish lead that is controlling most of these people because of the fear of being outside. Having tasted maybe a wine within the current coalition, they feel like they must be there. But the question is, would the UDA other members allow them to just invade as easy as they think? Maybe it would be a burden to the citizens because if the coalition will happen between ODM and UDA or other parties like couriers, among others, that means they might as well maybe expand the constitution or something. Let's just keep waiting, but that is a possibility. So we turn to Uganda and look at what is happening right there. The internet was now reinstated after what was to pass happened. And of course, Museveni came up to clearly say that it would have been a shame on the opposition, or there would be no opposition at all if his party actually had all the members standing up. He said that even the spoiled votes, all of them were his party because the old people were the major individuals who voted maybe by spoiling their votes. How true is this? And if that is the situation, then why is Bobi Wine being hunted down? Claim, Museveni indicated that Bobi Wine's whinings were just not making sense. He said that he has been sent by Bazungu to destroy Uganda, and the case was arrested early by him. In the process, he promised that their success would actually be emergent more as they go on to harvest the petroleum and so many other things. Maybe that's what Ugandan believes, Steam Mag. I don't know if you believe that is the situation that is going to happen in Uganda and things will improve if citizens are actually satisfied with this and all that. Of course, demonstrations have been there a little bit, but it's not as it happened in Tanzania. Does this mean that indeed the voting process was legal? However, Larry MADOWA came up with a video to expose what happened in Uganda, and one of them was the stuffing of votes and ticking of votes by the Electoral Commission. So we saw some videos which were exposed. Let's just get to see some of them. It's Larry MADOWA.
Because you got but Bobi Wine, that
mobster turned politician who's challenged him for the second time is already dismissing these results. He put out a tweet a short while ago, and again, remember the internet is still shut down for the last 4 days now. And Bobby Wine says, ignore fake results being announced by the Electoral Commission chief. He can't tell anybody where those results are coming from. Our agents at the tally are asking him for the source of these results, and the regime enabler can't say a thing. The people of Uganda will have the final say on this nonsense. And Bobby Wine did tell CNN this week that if President Museveni rigs this election as the signs point him doing, the people of Uganda must rise up and demand their victory. And it seems that moment is going to soon come when the results are announced. They have to be announced by Saturday afternoon, so there's a short while before that official announcement.
Yeah, so of course on Saturday the announcement was done, and so that Bobby Wine had to disappear from his home while the wife and the rest of the family members were put under house arrest, no exit, no coming in. And up to now, of course, Museveni talked yesterday promising that he has already talked to Ruto and the Tanzanian leader, among others, and they are ready for the inauguration process. So Larry Madowa has exposed a lot of things, among them the stuffing. Let me just see where I get the videos.
And videos are emerging of rigging and ballot stuffing, allegedly by poll workers to benefit President Museveni. Before I show you the videos, this is what a presidential ballot looks like in Uganda. President Museveni is at the bottom, Bobby Wine near the top. Bobby Wine to this video, allegedly from Western Uganda. It shows a row of people in high-vis vests ticking against Museveni in their poll books. This video is also getting...
It's funny though that the people ticking those ballot papers are very young. You would be wondering whether they really have interest in leadership tomorrow or the other day, because automatically if they are supporting this system, it means they are not ready to become leaders in any way, or if they have to, then they must register under Museveni's party, so that there's no opposition. The only way is to join the Lord Resistance Army or Mhozi's party or whatever, then get to leadership. And it's such an absurd situation, because now what does it tell us? Kenya is going to have elections next year. Will this be the state of affairs? Then it really, is it necessary to vote? It doesn't just add up and tell us. As we talk about democracy all the time, what does it mean by democracy? If we talk about ourselves as chosen leaders, do we choose ourselves, or what does it mean? So Larry Madowa continued to unleash more videos. But do they have any impact when Museveni has already declared himself a president and the inauguration process is going on? Of course, we saw what happened in Tanzania after a lot of noise and demonstrations on the streets. Now, currently, people are pulled down and things are going on. So this seems to be the way to go for Africa, or rather East Africa, and not just East Africa, because we saw the same happening in Cameroon and was it Gabon, just before it came to Tanzania. So let's check on this.
Shared allegedly from the central region in Uganda. Again, people can be seen ticking against President Museveni's column in yellow. The internet was out throughout the elections. Then we don't have more video, more context, and we don't see these extra ballots being added to the tally. President Museveni was declared winner of this election with 71.6% of the votes. Larry Madowa was on spot when Tanzania was holding an election. He brought out and exposed everything that happened in Tanzania, the killings and everything. He was one of the only journalists who did it well. Now, again, he is putting Uganda on spot. And people are saying, why is Larry Madowa always...
Yeah, so as you've just seen, Larry Madowa came out to share that. And I don't know what you feel about him. Is he anti-Africa? Because, of course, that is the name he has acquired of late. Even in Kenya, during the protests, you saw him saving some people who were kind of, put in a spot that was quite dangerous, and the police were throwing tear gas to that specific area until Larry Madowa found them and asked why they are not coming out, and they said they were in danger, and the police had said they should stay in that spot, and he told them to rush and get out of that spot. And of course, later on, we saw that he was being put in dark light by the Kenyan law, or rather, is it law or politicians who said that most of the Kenyan journalists want to paint their own nation in dark pictures. Does it mean journalists should actually paint the good picture, or does it mean you reflect as it is? So people have a very twisted perspective. They believe if you praise something, then you're actually your role as a journalist. And that doesn't look true to me. Journalists, if you really in journalism or documentary, you are supposed to show what is true. It's not about showing the best picture of something. Yeah. So it's not about painting a good picture of what is there, because the reality is reality. We don't have a twisted form of what is there, all right? And therefore, I don't understand what you think about Larry Madowa, but I would wish to have comments on my channel as much as possible, looking at the situation of Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, among many other places. Remember, he's working for an international journalist group. So does he have to paint a blossoming picture of Africa, or does he have to show the true picture of Africa? And if it is dark, should he show it as light or brilliant, or should he show it as it is? So those are the questions that I may actually be raising here as we continue to receive the reality of Uganda. But the truth be said, Uganda will continue to have Museveni unless Muhoozi takes over. That's what we know, because his father said that unless you go to the bush and fight from there, you're not going to get it. And remember, Muhoozi is in charge of the army, and the army has been bullying the supporters of Bobi Wine for the longest time possible. If you kept watching the rallies around the different places in Uganda, you must have seen what you saw. There was a lot of destruction to the groups that Bobi Wine was mobilizing. And currently, Ugandans are very afraid of saying anything because they might face the law. Some of them don't have resources. Of course, when you look at Uganda, it looks like it's improving in economics, but those economies are controlled by specific people. And that is why you see particular individuals so happy with Museveni, celebrating when the results are read out. But what is the international world saying about it? Of course, African Union cannot say much. We saw what happened in Tanzania. When the land was burning, the leader of AU came out to congratulate the president for winning a landslide, and yet things were very bleak on the ground. So we don't expect AU to do much, or rather make the situation, correct the situation, or sanitize events in Uganda, or even any other. So actually, the Uganda crisis shows us the worst part of Africa in terms of democracy. We have democracy on paper, but when it comes to reality, democracy is not there, because power has a way of corrupting. So, and if you understand very well, power has corrupted a lot of people, and with time you tend to learn that what it means with power is to misuse it. And of course, you can't tell me or convince me otherwise. It is a tool to be misused and used based on whoever is there. So you look at Uganda case, look at Tanzania, Cameroon, among other nations, save for some few countries that are doing differently, then we see a very bleak picture. And who will save us from this? Because we can't expect Donald Trump to do anything. Whatever intervention he does, then there are all questions about what he does. Remember what he did recently. And there was just a backlash about it, regardless of the reality. So of course, when we have to balance between what we call being African, pro-African and anti-African, what exactly does it mean? Does it mean that when we have conservative leaders continuously ruling and doing whatever they wish with the country, then that is pro-Africanism? Does it mean that it's progressive for us? Does it make things better? Like when we have economics improving for few people, few, especially those in power, does that mean a nation is growing and therefore that leader must be there forever? And of course, I did a reaction yesterday. If you looked at the pictures of Museveni when he was just taking leadership from Idi Amin Dada after the, the fight, that launching from the bush, you see he said that there's never going to be any other leader in Uganda. There is no other ideology, no other plan. And if anything or anyone is dreaming about it, they should just get lost or disappear. So that tells us that Uganda power struggle is something that is going to take a long, long way to go. And maybe Tanzania, how about if the constitution is changed and after 5 years again, we see the same president currently saying they are going for it and get it. So it's a boiling matter that is quite disheartening, but it's the reality we have to face. So let's look at the last video from Mordecai Muriza, then we end our discussion, maybe at 40 minutes.
Harassment and the intimidation of Bobby Wine and his supporters in the last few weeks during...
The ballot had a number of candidates, 8 of them. And Museveni's name and picture was the last one on the ballot. Look at where these folks are taking. See where the name of Museveni is.
You've seen the harassment and the intimidation of Bobby Wine and his supporters in the last few weeks during the campaign. We've seen violence against protesters in the streets. We've seen an internet blackout of the country in the last week or so. And so I think Bobby Wine is right when he comes out and says that this is not a credible election. This has been incredibly flawed. There's been stuffing of ballot boxes. No one really believes that Museveni could have won a 72% victory here. I think
it is laughable. No one believes. He gave himself 72%. As the vast majority of Ugandans continue to grapple, think through what we witnessed. Planted for trigging. A few people from across the world are deciding to recognize Bobby Wine as the duly elected president of Uganda. And I'll show you, this is from the Libertarian Party of the United Kingdom, and this is what they have to say regarding Uganda's elections.
The gentleman in this photo is Bobby Wine, opposition leader in the Republic of Uganda. The Western press have been silent this evening because there's been other news. Donald Trump, Greenland, so on and so forth. It is incumbent upon every libertarian, every believer in democracy and freedom to call out authoritarianism wherever it may be. Today, in the Republic of Uganda, we saw an election held under an internet blackout, held under the intimidation of political opponents, and now President Museveni has been returned for the 7th time since 1986. We, at the Libertarian Party of the United Kingdom, do not buy this. We recognise Bobby Wine as the legitimate president of the Republic of Uganda.
They recognize Bobby Wine as the legitimate president of the Republic of Uganda, and that is Alex Zajchowski. He was in 2024 was a candidate for Northeast Hampshire constituency. That's what they're saying. What else? Exactly. I like this gentleman. I don't know his name, but just like the 4 elections in Uganda have been heavily flawed. Now, many people know Bobby Wine, many people across the world. But before Bobby Wine, there was Dr. Tizabisje, who ran against Museveni 4 times. Under what situations was this man running against Museveni? Brutality of all nature, trumped up charges, being forced into exile, As we speak right now, the same man, Dr. Chiza Besigye, was abducted from Kenya, taken to Uganda, and is being kept in a prison for more than 1 year. Now, this is how Museveni treats his political opponents. Bobi Wine was kept under house arrest, and you call that an election? An election held under internet blackout? Is that an election? An election where polling agents and leaders of the National Unity Platform, Bobi Wine's political party, are being abducted and disappeared. Up to now, we do not know where two deputies of Bobi Wine's are. Mama leaders and Driga, the deputy president of the NUP in northern Uganda. But the moment they leave, he invited them in his...
All right, so those are divergent views about the Uganda situation. And of course, it's hard to tell whether this situation will ever improve, because Ugandans themselves, they are a bit hands off, save for the few people, Besigye and Bobi Wine. So we keep looking ahead and see what the world will do about this. But then it kind of pushes us into pessimism, looking at the repeated history of what Museveni has done earlier and watching the space to see what will happen. The church, of course, is also used in one way or the other in the politics of the day. So we hope that Ugandans will actually get their best one day. But it looks like a mirage, something that is taking a while. As they look around the road and they are so thirsty, we hope they are getting the water only to see that nothing is happening. So adios, let's meet next in another discussion.